Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar in which we'll be talking about how to create error log for number properties. My name is Payal Tandon. I'm one of the co-founders of GMAT and I will be your main host here today. And thank you GMAT Club for giving us this opportunity. All right, so quick question by show of yeses in the chat board. How many of you have attended at least one of these sessions before with us? And these sessions really are our error log series. So I'd like to understand how many of you have attended at least one of these error log series till now. Okay, let's get some responses here. Oh, you can't hear us. Okay. How many of you can hear me clearly? Okay. All right. Thanks, Rajat. Okay, so like tutor, you may want to check your settings there. Okay, all right, sounds good. So it appears as if there are quite a few of you who haven't attended any of these sessions before. So again, at a very high level, what we're going to demonstrate is how is it that you do strategic review of questions, and why is strategic review of questions important? Because when you are learning the process, when you're learning how is it that you should be solving questions on the GMAT, you need to figure out what part of the process are you not doing correctly. Okay, so that's the reason why you need to do this strategic review, so that you can identify whether it's conceptual understanding that is a problem, whether it's any process step that you're missing out on. And as you do strategic review of questions, the direct outcome is how is it that you create an error log. And that is what we're going to be talking about in this series. Today, we are taking up number properties as a subsection to discuss how is it that you create an error log for number properties questions. In the past, we have done it for sentence correction questions, and we've also done it for critical reasoning questions. So definitely take a look at the existing recordings that are there on YouTube. Now, just so I want to make sure that, before you get started with doing strategic review, you need to make sure that you have the right foundation. Because again, you need to first understand what are all the concepts that are tested, what is the process that you need to utilize to solve questions, which means that you need to build the right foundation. And to help you do that, we have provided this basic set of lessons for number properties, prime numbers 1, prime numbers 2. These are 15-minute long concept files. You have explicit pre-assessment and post-assessment quizzes in them, such that okay, after you've gone through this content, that, okay, yes, you've now learned everything that you were supposed to learn from these files. Likewise, we have divisibility files and remainders files. So definitely take a look at these if you don't have the right foundation for number properties. And even if you feel that you know these concepts well, it would be a very good review for you to make sure that, yes, I indeed know these concepts well, because of the quizzes that are inbuilt into these files. Now, if you are someone who's starting his or her preparation, or who has taken the test before, has been preparing for the test, and wants to understand where am I at right now, for them, I would highly recommend to take your the Sigma X mock test. And this is the only test in the industry that provides you with better than ESR analysis. So definitely take that mock test to figure out where is it that you're at in all of the 5 subsections on the test. And with that information, utilize that information to create your study plan. Now, if you are EGMAT students, you can create your study plan on your own utilizing this tool. If you're not an EGMAT student yet, definitely schedule a call with us after you've taken the mock test, after you've taken the Sigma X mock test, and we'll be happy to create that study plan with you. If you want to learn other sections, then definitely we have that covered as well. We have sentence correction, 5 video lessons for you. For critical reasoning, we have 4 lessons. Algebra, we have 4 other video lessons. Reading comprehension, 4 lessons. Overall, you get about 300 practice questions. So in all, you get more than 20 video lessons, more than 300 practice lessons, mock test that provides your ESR without you having to take the test and order that ESR and personalized study planner tool. And all you have to do in order to get access to all of this is to log into egmat.com. All right. So definitely build this right foundation, and you have the content to get started with that. All right. Now, what are we going to do in this session is we're going to solve 7 questions, 7 number properties questions, and we're going to solve one question at a time. And I'm going to give you, I usually don't like to time any one of you because right now we're in that learning phase, but I'll give you about 90 seconds to 2 minutes to solve this question, to solve each question. So as you are answering the question, please put in your selection in the chat box so that I know how many of you are done solving the question. And then we'll do a detailed review of how is it that you should have approached that question. And then we'll build what we are here to build, which is your error log. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let's get going over here. But before I get going into the questions, I want to understand how is it that you rate yourself on number properties today? Give an assessment, because this session is all about how well you can assess yourself. So I want to understand where is it that you find yourself today, or how is it that you assess yourself in number properties today, and tell me that, okay, I am 80% there, I feel 100% confident, or there are these topics in number properties that I'm facing issues with. So let's get to hear from you before we go into our question solving mode. Walid is 60% there, all right. Asim is also 40% there, Lactura 70%. Okay, let's get some more responses. And also tell me, if you're not there 100% yet, tell me what are the issues that you're facing today. Vamsi 80%, good. Because I'd like to understand how is it that you evaluate yourself, on what metrics are you evaluating yourself today, right now before this session. I score low on arithmetic. Shardul, is number properties part of arithmetic? Yes, it is. It's a very, very big part of arithmetic. Arithmetic is composed of number properties, word problems, and permutations and combination probability types questions. Okay, what else? Tell me a specific topic in number properties that you're having issues with. And why is it that you are having issues with that topic? Understand the question is my issue. Okay, good. What else? And see, I'd like to see such kind of responses here. Understanding the question is my issue. Why? Because Walid is not simply saying that I have problems with units, digits questions, right? He's not focusing just on the concept. He's actually trying to understand why is it he's not able to solve questions, and his problem is that he's not able to understand questions. So very good assessment, Walid. Okay, so DS particularly when we need to consider various scenarios. Again, Vamsi, very specific here. Good job there. When you have to consider various scenarios, that is a process skill. And again, I'll talk about that when we go into error log. So Vamsi, what you're talking about over here is this part here, all cases. This is a process skill, which we are going to talk about in this, which is part of your error log, which should be part of your error log once you learn how to build this error log. So good job there. All right. Good evening, Rohit. Stefan is saying understanding the question can be an issue. Good. Okay. Shardul, sequences and series. Also, there are so many nuances, especially number properties, data sufficiency questions. Okay. All right. So I have enough here. Good. Thank you for that participation. Now, these 3 questions here, the top 3 questions are problem solving questions, and the bottom 4 questions are data sufficiency questions. So we have 3 problem solving and 4 data sufficiency questions. All right. Okay. So let's get into our question solving mode. Question number 1, and here is your question. Go ahead and solve it. All right, it's been upwards of 2 minutes. Still don't have very many responses here. Let's get a few more responses. All right, I'm going to start solving this question now. So it appears that, okay, so we have one response here, sorry. One here, then Vikash and Vamsi, both of them selected choice D as the correct answer. Any more responses? Last call before I go into the discussion of this question. Now, why is it? I mean, there are 22 of you in this session right now, but I only have 3 responses yet. So were you not able to solve the question? What is the problem that you faced with it? Or were you just completely lost? Walid is saying that he missed the concept needed here. Okay. And we'll talk about it, but I want to get to know as to why is it that, I mean, it is a 700 level question. This question is from OG Advanced book. So it's definitely a 700 plus level question. So, okay, all right. So how is it that we should be approaching any quant question? The first step is to understand what the question statement is telling us, okay? Now, over here, what we have is that how many positive integers n, okay, so I have one more response here. Shardul is saying E, okay, so I'm going to write that over here, okay. How many positive integers n have the property that both 3n and n by 3 are 4-digit integers? Now, what is it that I get from it? The first thing that we always should do is, if the language is more mathematical, or again, we need to translate what does 4-digit integer mean in terms of numbers, right? So when I do that, what do I get? What does 4-digit integer means? That my integers are anywhere from 1000, the values are anywhere from 1000 to 9999. These are 4-digit integers, right? Now, what else do I know about this? What I know is that 1000, that 3n and n by 3 are between these limits here. Okay, that's what I know, that 3n and n by 3 are within these boundaries. Okay, so that is the first thing that I'm going to do. Just try to understand what the question statement is telling me. What do I know from the question statement, from the English in the question statement? How can I translate that into mathematical terms? And this is what my translation is, that 3n is less than or equal to 1000, is less than or equal to 9000, and n by 3 is less than or equal to 1000 and less is greater than or equal to 1000 and less than or equal to 9999, right? Now, the next thing that I have to do is I need to process this information. I literally need to find how many positive integers have this property, right? So for that, the information that I have is this part over here, that these two inequalities, if you will. So I need to figure out, okay, what are the possibilities of ranges for n, right? So when I do that for 3n, what do I get? What I get is that 1000 divided by 3 is less than or equal to n, less than or equal to 9999 divided by 3. Is that correct? Right? And what will I, if I simplify this further, again, because it's an easy calculation, I can go ahead and do it. I get these are the boundaries for n, right? These are the boundaries for n. Now I do the same thing for n by 3. For n by 3, when I do that, what do I get? I take 3 the other side, that's 3000, and then I don't need to multiply this 9999 into 3. I don't need to really multiply this, okay? So when I do this, I have these two, both of these are true, which means what would be the value of n? The solution for the range for n will be combination of these, which is for both these to be true, we get this as the range of n. How many of you were able to get till this step? Because all I've done over here is, I haven't done anything complicated. All I've done over here is I have understood what the information is telling me here. And then what I've done is I have simply processed that information to figure out what the range of n is. Now that I have the range of n, what is it that I need to figure out? I need to figure out how many positive integers n belong in this range. Now, whenever you have a range, how do you calculate the number of entities within that range? You simply do the upper limit minus the lower limit plus 1. Okay, that is the formula that you need to do, right? So you need to apply that. Now, when I do that, what do I get? I simply get 3333 minus 3000, okay, minus 3000 plus 1, which is equal to 334, right? So that's my answer, right? Choice D, right? But there is something not quite right with this. Why? Because there is one constraint that I haven't considered. What I knew from the question statement is, and this is something which I knew, that n by 3 is an integer. Okay. Now tell me, when I've done this calculation, 3001 is part of this calculation. Now 3001 divided by 3, n is equal to 3001 divided by 3, is it an integer? Tell me. Is it an integer? It's not an integer, right? So there was something else that you needed to do to come up with your answer, which is that you needed to figure out multiples of 3 over here. How technically, what this question statement is asking you is how many, you have this range, but in this range, you have numbers that are multiples of 3, you have numbers that are not multiples of 3. To get to the answer, because you have this constraint on n, that n by 3 is an integer, you need to first figure out how many multiples of 3 are there. And for that, what you have to do is, so essentially this is wrong over here. This is wrong over here. Okay, why? Because you have not considered the n by 3 is an integer. We didn't consider that to come up with this answer. Okay, now what you have to technically do is, oh, sorry about that. Okay. What you have to do is 3333 minus 3000 divided by 3 plus 1. And that is 112. That is your answer over here. The correct answer is choice B. Okay. That is the mistake that you did. Okay. Now, if any one of you was getting choice A or choice C as the correct answer, then definitely you have a problem with this concept over here, that the number of numbers within a range is upper limit minus lower limit plus 1. Okay, so that is my feedback to you. There was one person who selected choice C, but then he changed that to 334. Now, if you selected choice D, then the problem is that you did not consider the constraint. Okay, so you need to, that is the process step that you missed out on. There is nothing wrong with your processing of the information over here. There's nothing wrong with how you came up with this part over here, but you got this question wrong because you did not consider this constraint. And that is the process skill that you missed out on. Okay, so if we were to map this entire solution in terms of the concept skills and the process skills, really speaking, the first thing over here is translation. Were you able to translate? And people who were able to answer this question did at least the translation bit. So you guys were good there. The second is, how do you, given the translation, how do you do the mathematical processing on it? And a number of people who were able to get to the answer were also able to do this block of processing. Where some of you faltered was that you didn't apply the constraint. That is the spot where you faltered, and that's why you got the answer wrong. So if we were to now do the error log for this, the error log for this will be a number of you were able to do the translation, but some of you were not able to do the constraint. So what you need to do is, whenever you are doing a strategic review of the question, what you need to do is look at the solution, figure out which step of the solution did you falter at, and then try to put them in these buckets. And these are very, very well-defined buckets. Translation. How do you understand what translation is? Were you able to take the question statement and convert that into mathematical terms? That's your translation. If you were not able to do that, which means that if you were, in the case of this question, if you were not able to come up with those inequalities, that means you were not able to translate. Okay, now tell me, by saying yes, tell me how many of you were able to translate. Tell me that. And not able to translate. So write down translation yes, translation no. Because I want to do a vote count, and by the end of this session, I want to create an error log for these questions for this class as a whole. But for that, I need your input. So tell me, translation, how many of you were able to do the translation? So yes, I see one, okay, and no. And be very frank here. This is, Gio was not able to do it. Good. Thank you, Gio. Again, this is the least risk environment over here. So be very, very open here. Shantanu was not able to do it. I have a problem to translate. Walid has a problem to translate. Good. And see, when you figure this out, that okay, this is, I couldn't solve this question because I wasn't able to translate. Now you're taking the focus away from number properties in general, right? You're taking that focus away. You now have a much global problem, because if you're not able to translate here, you will have problems. Most likely, you're going to have problems translating for word problems questions as well, because again, these process skills span across the entire quant spectrum. Not just, these process skills are not just applicable to number properties, they are applicable across the board. Now, some of these process skills may be more, for example, visualization is definitely going to be more applicable to geometry questions. You'll see a lot more questions with visualization, but you see questions in number properties as well that utilize the skill set of visualization. Okay, so this is the kind of analysis that I want you to do. Okay, now let's talk about constraints. How many of you were not able to do the constraints? I'm going to create a similar log here as well. Translation, yes. Okay, Ahmed is saying yes. Okay, now how about constraints? How many of you were not able to do constraint? Write down constraint yes, constraints no. Because if you do this kind of activity with me today on these 7 questions, you will be well on your path to, well ahead on your path to do the same level of analysis on your own when you're solving questions. Okay, so Abhishek is saying no for constraints. Good. What else? Constraints, yes, no. I should see more no's for the constraint, especially the 2 people, Vikash and somebody else as well. Yes, constraints, yes. Okay, Vikash, but you actually, for you, Vikash, constraint should be no, because you selected 334 as the answer. Constraint should be yes, only for those people who selected 112 as the answer. If your answer was 334, then definitely constraints is the bit that you missed out on. Okay, so I'm going to take away your yes over here and put that here. Okay, unable to process the info with the constraints. Rohit is saying yes. Okay, now again, the key thing that I want you to focus on is whenever you're reviewing a solution, look at each and every part of the solution. Okay, let's go back over here. Look at each and every part of the solution and figure out which step did you miss out on. Okay, when you see the solution, you will be able to tell, okay, this is simply the processing part, processing of the concepts. This is the translation bit. You will be able to figure that out on your own. When you see the mistake, when you see that the answer choice is not 334, but it is 112, you will see this kind of processing, and then you will say, oh, I actually did not. And you'll see the reasoning. Reasoning is very important, and that's the reason why you need to have the detailed solutions that give you all of this information. Okay, it should not be a precise solution. It should not be a concise solution. It needs to be detailed solutions that gives you the reasoning behind each and every step. How is it that we are getting from here to here? The solution needs to explicitly state that. Okay, so whenever you're preparing, make sure that you prepare with the solutions that are as detailed, consistently detailed, and that's what you're going to find on the GMAT platform. Whether it's official guide question, whether it's GMAT question, each and every question has detailed solution both in your learning platform and in your Scholaranium practice platform. Okay, all right. So now let's move on to question number 2. We're going to do exactly the same thing now, and let's solve this question. Go ahead. Again, this question is also from the official guide and OG Advanced Guide. Okay, go ahead. All right, it's been upwards of 3 minutes. I still don't have very many responses. For some reason, are these questions very difficult that I'm not able to get people to respond here? So right now I have web hubs, that's choice. Sorry about that. And then I have 118. Okay, what else? All right, guys, I need some more responses here. Whatever answer you were able to get to, or if you were not able to get to it, just tell me that, okay, you're still solving it. Okay, then I have 199. All right. Okay, so 3 responses, upwards of 3 minutes, actually 4 minutes now, 3.5 minutes. Let's carry on with it then. There's no converging. There's no convergence that I see in the responses. All right, so let's solve this question. What we have to do over here is the difference 942 minus 249. First of all, tell me, how many of you calculated this difference? Tell me if you calculated what 942 minus 249 is. Okay, Stefan did, Webber did not do. Okay, there was no reason to calculate this. Why? Because this is simply a representation that the author of the question has provided. And one thing that I would tell you is, in quant questions, don't do calculations right off the bat. No, calculation should be the last thing that you should do. Okay, unless calculations are required for you to simplify, there is no need for you to do the calculations. Postpone the calculations to as much beyond, as much in towards the later part of the session as you can. Now over here, just read what the statement is saying. The difference 942 minus 249 is a positive multiple of 7. So it's saying it's a positive multiple of 7. So it's of the form 7x. Okay. If A, B, C are non-zero integers, how many 3-digit numbers ABC are possible such that the difference ABC minus CBA is a positive multiple of 7? So now this is where you didn't really need to do any calculation over here, because all this is saying is this is simply a representation of this part over here, ABC minus CBA. Okay, so all the question is asking you is, if ABC are non-zero digits, okay, so that's constraint number 1 over here. How many 3-digit numbers are possible such that this difference ABC minus CBA is a positive multiple of 7, is form of 7x. That's what the statement is telling you. That's what the question statement is asking you to find. Now, before I go into any processing, what I need to do is figure out what the variables that have been given to me. Are there any constraints on the variables? The first and the foremost constraint that I see is that this ABC over here, ABC can be any one of 1 through 9. Okay, 0 is not a possible value. A, B, C not equal to 0. That is one very, very important constraint over here. ABC is not equal to 0. Okay, how many of you identified this constraint when you solved the question on your own? Very important, because this is the kind of things, these are the kind of things that you need to identify. Once you've learned the concepts, once you know how to solve certain easy and medium level questions, these are the things that you absolutely need to focus on. Okay, so how many of you were able to identify that? Okay, so good. There are some people who were able to identify that. Good. Now let's carry forward. The next thing that we have to do is ABC minus CBA. Now ABC are digits. Now this is where you need to apply your concept of how do you represent numbers, number representation. That's the concept that's applicable here. Okay. Now how do you represent ABC as a number? 100A, if A is the digit, plus 10B plus C. So all this is number representation. Now minus CBA. Now when it's minus CBA, what is it? It's 100C plus 10B plus A. Everyone okay with this? Asim says that he did up to here. Okay, good. All right, now let's now try to simplify it. Okay, this is what my representation is, ABC minus CBA. Now let's try to simplify this. 100A minus A, that's 99A, okay? 10B minus 10B gets cancelled out, right? C minus 100C is minus 99C. Minus 99C, okay? Which means what do we have? 99A minus C. So in terms of, so what is this ABC minus CBA? What does this simplify to? It simplifies to 99A minus C. Now, what is the condition? The condition that we have from the question statement is that this is of the form 7x. This is a multiple of 7. That is what I need to figure out. What are the possible values of A, B, and C such that 99A minus C is a multiple of 7? Okay. Now, is 99 a multiple of 7? No, right? 7 is not a factor of 99. So the only way this number can be a multiple of 7 is if A minus C is a multiple of 7, right? Now, let's look at something else now. A minus C, what are the possible values here? The possible values are, they are single digit numbers. So A minus A is anywhere from 1 through 9. C is anywhere from 1 through 9. So what could be the possible value? So the only value that's possible for A minus C for it to be a multiple of 7 is that A minus C is 7. Now what we have to figure out is what are the possible values based on this, based on the constraints that we have over here on A, B, and C, such that A minus C is 7, which is A can be 9, C can be 2, okay? Likewise, A can be 8, C can be 1. Now, A can be 7 and C can be 0, okay? How many of you feel that A can be 7 and C can be 0? Because after all, A minus C, 7 minus 0 is 7. So is this a possible value over here? Is 7 and 0 a possible value of A and C? Okay, let's get some responses here. Is 7 and 0 possible value of A and C? Stefan, why is it not? Vikash, why is it not? Again, why is the important thing? Guys, and one thing I do want to tell you is it's not about solving the question fast. Okay, it's not about going through the solution fast. It's about figuring out which step of the solution did you falter at, and that's why you have to ponder. Weber, no, as ABC is not equal to 0, first constraint. Absolutely right. Vikash is also saying the right thing, non-zero digits. Absolutely. Always have to say, why is it not possible? Now, Walid, somebody was saying, no, for sure. Okay, good. Good. So you need to, so 7, 0 are not possible. So there are only two possible things which are specified, which is that you have two possibilities for A and C. Now, how about B? How many possibilities do we have for B? How many possibilities do we have for the number B? Because all of this processing has not told me anything about B. Lag tutor, absolutely right. Possibilities are 9 over here, which means that overall, how many possibilities do we have? 9 times 2, which is 18. So the correct answer over here is 18. Okay. Now, there are 28 of you right now, out of whom I only got 3 responses, out of whom only 1 person was correct. Okay. So now tell me, why is it that you faltered? Let's do error analysis. But before we go into error analysis, let's look at the solution and then try to identify what parts correspond to what error log process skills. This part over here, applying constraints. Okay, you need to identify the constraint. This part over here is simple concept application of number representation. Okay, then over here, you had to draw an inference. 99A minus C is a multiple of 7, right? Which means that A minus C is a multiple of 7. This is an inference that you had to draw, this part over here. Okay. Now, other application of constraint only possible multiple A, so A and C are single digits, right? So you needed to understand, okay, they're not, you don't have to consider 14 or 21 as the possible multiples, because those are not really possible here, right? Because A and C are single digits here. So again, you figured out that, okay, these are the two possible values. The other thing is, you figured out that 7 and 0 are not possible. So again, at each step over here, it's very important to figure out how is it that you're arriving to that particular step. Okay, and that's the reason why it's important to review those detailed solutions. So there is constraints, a very heavy component of constraints here, very heavy component of inference here, decently okay influence of the concept application. Okay, now tell me, based on this solution, only one person got the question correct. So I need to see why is it that you answered this question incorrectly. So tell me, inference, write down for this inference. Why is it? How many of you were able to draw the inference? And again, just to recap, inference over here is that 99 times A minus C is a multiple of 7. So A minus C is the multiple of 7. How many of you were able to draw that inference? So tell me that. Now again, if you weren't even able to get to that 99 into A minus C, then the problem is that you were not able to apply the concept of number representation. So let's talk about that first. Before we go into the inference part, let's talk about how many of you were able to get to that point that 99 into A minus C is equal to a multiple of 7. Learn, we have not discarded the second possibility. Because of the second possibility, we multiplied by 2. Okay. So valid, again, translating wasn't an issue over here. Again, if you're saying translating was an issue, I believe what you mean is that you were not able to apply the number representation concept. You were not able to translate again. So you can talk about, so that is part of translating here. Okay. So lack infer is saying that he didn't get the inference. Okay. Inference Vikash was able to do, could not solve, but to my understanding, answer would be D or E. Well, the answer is, again, what was the answer here? E. Okay, Vikash reached 999. Okay, all right. Okay, so how many of you were able to, and guys, for us to do this well, for us to learn from this, I mean, I can solve questions here. I can solve, 10, 20 questions here. But you're not going to get much from it. Yes, you will solve those questions and you'll be able to understand the solution. But what do you do beyond that? And that's why I need you to be more responsive over here. So answer my question, please. How many of you were able to get to the point there where we talked about 99 A minus C is a multiple of 7x? How many of you were able to get to that? So Stefan was able to get to it. Good. How about others? And Stephen, you were able to solve the question as well. So good. How about others? Because I'm very sure that there were quite a few of you who were not able to get to it. Shardul was not. Shardul was able to get to it. Learn wasn't. Valid wasn't. Yeah. So again, now when you fill this up, that's when you get to know, because you need to do that on your own. That's when you get to know that you need to now focus on the translating skill, or over here more specifically, how do you translate the number representation part? Okay, so good, Stefan. I'm really glad to hear that you've been studying hard. That's good to know. All right, now let's come to the inference bit. The inference part, how many of you were not able to infer that A minus C is a multiple of 7x? Because 99 is not because 7 is not a factor of 99. How many of you were able to do that? Asim wasn't. Okay, let's go back here. Asim wasn't. Who else? Because now that Asim knows, Asim was able to do 99 A minus C is equal to a multiple of 7, but he wasn't able to take that further, which means that he wasn't able to draw the inference. And that is what he now needs to focus on. If he starts to see more of inference related columns in his error log, that's when he'll see that, okay, he needs to focus more on he understands the concept, but he needs, given a multiple, given a product of two numbers, if a product of two numbers is a multiple of 7, then what are the cases possible, right? So he needs to focus on things like that. Okay. All right. Okay, good. So now let's carry on with it. Now, but before I go into question number 3, I want to understand something else from you all, which is that how many of you do this kind of analysis when you solve questions today, when you solve quant questions today? How many of you are able to, or how many of you focus on these parts? Shardul doesn't. Stefan does. Good. Very nice. So, but do you, now that we've gone through 2 questions, we still have 5 more questions to go through, but do you see the value of it? Because I want to hear from you as to what is it that you, how much of this you're getting and how much of this you're not getting. Okay, so that's very important. So do you see the value? My question is, do you see the value of tracking, of doing a detailed review of the solution and then figuring out where is it that you're faltering? Okay, and again, it's very important because over here today, when you are logging your error log, you're possibly simply writing this question as number properties, right? That's what you're writing it down as. Okay, but in real sense, number properties is composed of, questions from number properties are composed of so many concepts, right? Of so many process skills, right? When I say so many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 process skills, right? Now, which process skill are you faltering at? That is the kind of feedback that you need to get for yourself. Okay, and that is what is possible if you do strategic review of detailed solutions. Okay, so Stefan, thank you. You highly recommend it. That's really good. I highly recommend it too. Shardul, yes, very helpful to narrow down areas of improvement. Good. All right, very nice. So now that gives me some level of comfort that, okay, you guys are getting it. So let's go into question number 3 over here. Let's try to solve this question. This is the last PS problem solving question. Go ahead. All right. So I have Begum, Geo, Shardul at choice D, and Stephen is at choice C. Then I have Lag Tutor also at choice D. What else? Vikash is also choice D. 5 for choice D. Let's get some more responses. Asim is also choice D. Wow, choice D is the popular one here. Interesting. Okay, Ashok is also choice D. All right, let's get some more responses. All right. So, Stephen, would you like to rethink your answer given that everyone else is selecting choice D, or do you still stick to choice C as the correct answer? And everyone who has written the answers, or yeah, are you confident of your responses? That's precisely what I'm asking. I'm asking Stephen specifically because, okay, all right, so you stick to your choice C selection. All right, how about others? People who have selected choice D, are you confident of your response? Geo trusts Stephen. Okay, you have trust in Stephen. All right. So, Geo, that means are you changing your answer to choice D? Again, I'm just kidding here. It is whatever you get to the answer. Okay, Shardul is 100% confident. All right, let's carry on with this. Amit Sharma has also selected choice C, so we get one more vote for choice C. All right, so let's solve this question. Um, let's do this. So again, what do we have here? What we have here is 5 integers between 10 and 99. Okay, which means which means that the numbers are between 10 and 99, right? So let me get some more responses here. Amit is also selecting. Learn is selecting D. Okay, good. All right. So what does this tell me? That 5 integers are between 10 and 99 inclusive are to be formed using each of the 10 digits exactly once. Now, what is the implication of that exactly once? That there is no repetition at all. You cannot have right. So there's no repetition allowed here. Okay, exactly once in such a way that sum of the 5 integers is as small as possible. Okay, what is the greatest possible integer that could be among these 5 numbers? Okay. Now, how would you approach this question? When you look at this question, you don't find anything which is specific to, let's say, prime numbers or factors or divisibility remainders. This is a very basic number, just properties of numbers question, just number representation, understanding how numbers are represented, right? And again, translating information. That's very, very important. Now, 5 digits exactly once, which means that you cannot have 99 as a number, even though it says it's inclusive here. But really what it's saying is that you cannot have any repetition. If you've used 9 for the tens place, you will not be able to use 9 for the ones place, and vice versa. Okay. Now, if the sum of the 5 integers is as small as possible, then how would you make those integers such that the sum is as small as possible? The first thing that comes to mind is that in your tens, so really what you have to figure out is what all possibilities do you have for tens place and the units place, right? Now, if the sum has to be as small as possible, that means the numbers need to be small as possible, which means that for in the tens place, you should have smaller digits, right? For example, you should have 1, okay, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, okay? These are the possibilities, or actually 0 as well, okay? Now, what's wrong? Is there anything wrong with it? I mean, what I've selected is possible as small numbers as possible for the tens place. Is there something wrong with the possibilities that I've listed out over here? Tell me. You can't have 0 in the tens. Absolutely right. And that's the constraint, right? That's the constraint that has been put in by this part over here. It's a 2-digit number. So it's a conceptual constraint that we have specified. that we are applying over here, conceptual constraint. Okay. Okay, so tens, it's not possible to put 0 over here, which means that, okay, 0 is not a possibility. So we put 5 over here because we need 5 digits, 5 smaller digits for tens place, which means what are the digits that are possible for the units place? 0, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are the digits possible for the units place, which means now what is the greatest possible integer? The greatest possible integer will be 5 and 9, 59. And that's your answer. Choice C is the correct answer here. So now tell me, from this solution, what was really difficult here? Now that we've gone through the solution here, what was difficult about it? Tell me, what part were you not able to do? Were you not able to draw this inference over here? Did you not recognize the constraints over here? Were you not able to apply the constraints here? Were you not able to draw this inference here? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points over here. So tell me, which points were you not at which points did you falter? Because clearly only 2 people were able to get to the correct answer, right? 3 people. So for those of you who, and I had how many, 8 votes here. 8 people who were not able to select the correct answer, tell me why. Was because of 0, because you made a mistake with the inference here then, right? Tell me which ones, because again, this is how you're going to be seeing the solution. You're going to be seeing the solution which would have this part over here, which would have this explanation over here. You have to figure out which step did you miss out on. So inference number 2. Okay, so Shantanu was at this point over here. Good. What else? Asim, when you say miss the question stem, what does that mean? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which one did you miss out on? Concept missed here. Walid, again, what was the concept? If you think about it, there is no from the concept standpoint, this is all very basic stuff. There is no, I can't pinpoint any number properties concept over here. This is all basic understanding of numbers. So tell me, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to be very precise. Why did you miss out on this question? Which step? Because the solution is going to give you this. A detailed, good solution that's based on a step-by-step process is going to give you all of this stuff. That's what you're going to see at GMAT. Okay. Now, when you're seeing that solution, you need to be able to figure out which step did you miss out on, and that's the entry that needs to go. Asim, because of not put 0 in the second constraint. Okay, so you missed out on the number 4 part. Then that's what you did, Asim. What else? How about the others? Vikash is saying number 4. Okay, good. What else? Okay, so we have 3 votes for Asim also. Yeah, so Begum also got confused with number 4. And Shardul, the sum has to be minimum. Why can't you have the 0 in the units digit? We can have the 0 in the units digit, Shardul, and that's what we have over here. 0 is in the units digit. What I was saying is that 0 can't be in the tens place because then it won't be a 2-digit number. Okay. All right. So if you think about it, for this question, the main reason why you faltered on was the inference part, which is, again, 4 people faltered on the inference part. So now when we go into our error log for this one, inference is what is the main issue over here. Okay. Constraints wise, we were okay. Okay. Constraints wise, we didn't have much of a problem. Okay. Okay. All right. So now let's move on to our first DS question number 4 here. Let's go on, go ahead. And again, obviously the choices are A, B, C, D, E. All right, go ahead and let's solve this question. All right. 3 responses as yet, 1 B and 2 Ds. Okay, let's get some more responses here. Another B. All right, so 2 B's, 2 D's. All right, let's go through the solution now. Now, what's given to us over here? For each positive integer k, Shardul is also saying B over here. Okay. For each positive integer k, let ak is equal to 1 plus 1 over k plus 1 is the product a1, a2, so on till an integer. Now, before I go into the solution, I want to, okay, I'm getting some more responses here. So Begum D, Learn D, Asim B. Okay, good. Now, how many of you were able to simplify the question statement? How is it that you approach this question? Basically, what I'm asking is that before you started looking at at statement number 1, what is it that what was your simplification of the question statement? So tell me that. What did you take with you when you started to analyze choice statement 1? Okay, no responses. How did you arrive at the correct answer, or how did you arrive at a particular answer? I geo substituted some values in the sequence, identifying a1, a2, a3. Okay, all right. Calculated a couple of values of n to see the pattern. Okay, and what was the pattern? What did you come out with? Good, all good responses, but I'm asking a little bit more. So when you essentially, did you go with this? Is the product a1, a2, an integer? Did you simply go with this and you looked at each and every statement? Amar is saying n is equal to 3k minus 1. Okay, all right. Okay, so for DS questions, it's very important to simplify the question statement as much as possible and take that simplified question statement with you to analyze whether statement 1 can answer the question in that. Okay, so here's what we would do here. So what is AK? AK is, so before I even look at anything else, this is a pretty complicated expression. AK is equal to 1 plus 1 over k plus 1. So I'm going to simplify this. And Stephen is right. It is really k plus 2 divided by k plus 1. Okay, that's what is AK. Now that I have AK like this, I'm going to then figure out, okay, what is my product A1, A2, so on till AN. So what I do over here is I write down K and I write down AK. Okay. Now K is 1. When K is 1, what is my AK? My AK is 3 over 2. When K is 2, what is my AK according to this? It is 4 over 3. When K is 3, what is my AK? It is 5 over 4, right? Like so on and so forth. And then when, let's say n, then this is n plus 2 over n plus 1. Now, what do you observe here? What you observe over here is ultimately what I'm interested in is the product of all these numbers. Okay, that is the product and integer. That is what I'm interested in. Okay, is this product an integer? Now, when I multiply all of this, what do I see? I see that these terms are getting cancelled out. Okay, likewise, this n plus 1 will get cancelled out with n plus 1 over here. Ultimately, this 5 will get cancelled out by whatever comes over here. Okay, ultimately, what I'm left with is this whole product is n plus 2 divided by 2. That is what I end up with. And what I have to figure out is this an integer? Okay. Now, when would this be integer? This would be an integer. N plus 2 divided by 2 is an integer if n plus 2 is an even number. Okay. When is n plus 2 an even number? If n is even. So essentially, this is what I'm taking with me as a question that I have to answer from the information given to me in statement 1 and statement 2, okay, independently. So now tell me, how many of you were able to do all of this? How many of you were able to visualize that, okay, this is what these numbers are, this product is, and then how many of you were able to simplify it to this degree and then draw the inference over here, okay? That is the level of simplification that you need to get to in order to solve questions such as these in a more effective manner, okay? Now, once you have this, is n even? Now you take a look at statement number 1. What is statement number 1 saying? N plus 1 is a multiple of 3. Take a few multiples of 3. All you have to figure out is n even? Take a few multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9. Now, this is your n plus 1, which means what is n over here? N is 2. In this case, it's even. In this case, n is 5, which is not even, which means statement A is not sufficient. So A and D cannot be my answers. So there you go. 5 people who selected choice D. D is not a possible answer at all. So I'm going to ask you, where did you falter? Okay. So this is the analysis for statement 1. Statement 2, n is a multiple of 2. That's direct. Choice B is the correct answer over here. So now tell me, at which step did you falter? For people who were not able to do statement number 1, why? For people who selected choice D, why did you select choice D? Again, statement 2 is straightforward. That's all we have to, that's precisely what we needed to answer. But which step did you falter in? And over here in this question, again, visualization is a very, very important skill. How do you you're visualizing AK as a number here, okay, from this complicated expression that's given to us, okay? Then you are simplifying it. Is n by 2 divided by 2 an integer, okay? And then you're drawing an inference. Okay, so LAC tutor, you did just 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So I'm not sure where you got 3 minus 1 from. So again, the key thing with such questions is there. So 1 not reached. Vikash is saying that he didn't even reach this point. Yes. So again, the key thing over here is whenever you see a complicated expression, you need to take a deep breath and just understand there is nothing complicated about it. GMAT is not a complicated test when it comes to quant or in fact verbal as well. It's all logic. It's all patience. Just break it down into smaller parts. Break it down, take one step at a time. AK is equal to 1 plus k, 1 over k plus 1. You have to understand what AK is. Okay, is the product A1, A2, AN an integer? You have to simplify that. Okay, if you don't simplify this part over here, you are not going to, if you take a very heavy, complicated expression with you into your statement 1, you are going to be burdened by it. Okay, you need to simplify it. Frankly, if you're not able to simplify your question statement, I would rather say skip that question and go ahead in the test environment. Okay, that question is kind of a lost cause for you. Okay, but when you're practicing, push yourself. Don't go into shortcuts. Shortcuts are not going to help you. Okay, data sufficiency is all about simplification. Okay, it's all about patiently taking the information one step at a time and then solve it. Vikash, quant is easy. Believe me, if I'm saying quant is easy, quant is easy. Okay. Again, you don't have to be a person who has to do lots of calculations. Not at all. It's nothing about complicated fundamentals. It's all about the basics. It's not about complicated concepts. It's all about basics. Okay. It's all about breaking down the problem into smaller chunks. And that's the beauty of everything that's complicated. Anything that you take up as a complicated thing, the moment you start to break it down into smaller chunks, whether it's your project work, whether it's any new skill that you're building, break it down into smaller chunks, approach each chunk one at a time, and then you'll be able to solve it. Okay. Now, Walid is saying the story is how to simplify. Very good question. I don't know if it was a question or it was just a comment here. How to simplify, that's what you need to learn from a course, from a good course that teaches you how is it that you simplify information. And that's what we do at EGMAT. You go through concept files, you go through application files. Again, you need to be patient as you're going through that. Okay, many a times you'll find a solution and you'll think, oh, that's overly complicated. No, the solution is not complicated. You may think, oh, what if there is a shortcut? Isn't this a better way to do it? No. You can start using shortcuts when you feel that you have reached a certain level, when you can come up with shortcuts on your own. Don't rely on others to give shortcuts. That's what my mantra is. If I can't come up with a trick or a shortcut on my own, then I'm not there yet. Okay. You need to understand the fundamentals, solve the questions utilizing a fundamental approach. Only then you can get to the point wherein you can come up with shortcuts on your own. And I'll give you an example of that when we solve the last question that is there. Okay. Shardul, does the same go for verbal breaking down? Absolutely, yes. Exactly same philosophy for verbal. And that's why I love GMAT as an exam, because it's such a logical exam. It's such a beautifully created exam. Each and every question type has a certain level of finesse in it, which, again, if you break it down, it all boils down to, do you understand logic? That's all about it. Okay. Can you simplify? Can you apply logic? Okay. All right. So let's move on to our next question now. Question number, we didn't build the error log for this part. I believe for this question, visualization was the place where number of you faltered. Okay, so you weren't able to, I mean, this is where the majority of people made a mistake. Okay, again, if you think about the concepts, look at the concepts over here. It's all basic concepts. And these are all official guide advanced questions. These are all, if you check the stats of again, the very fact that they are from official guide means that they are difficult questions. Official guide advanced means that they are 700 level questions. Secondly, if you check their stats on GMAT Club, you'll see that the accuracy for these questions is way below 50%. The time taken for these questions is more than 2 minutes. Okay. So again, these are difficult questions, but look at the concepts that these questions are testing. They are all basics. Most of them are basic concepts, nothing high funda over here. Okay. And that's the characteristic of quant. There are very few questions which require a very deep seated or a deep concept. Typically concepts are very straightforward. The proof, the beauty lies in all these process skills, and that's what you need to master, and that's what you are able to do when you go through the application files and the practice files in the EGMAT course. Okay. All right, so let's go back to question number 5 here. Let's come to question number 5. Let's solve this question. I don't think we'll have a lot of time to solve the remaining 2 questions. So this will be our last question. Again, I have a hard stop in another 10 minutes here. Max 15 minutes I can stretch. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this one. All right, let's get a few more responses. I have two C's. All right, guys, it's been upwards of 2 minutes, touching almost 3 minutes now. So let's get a few more responses. Dishank, 1. I believe you're saying it's A as the correct answer. If you're saying statement 1. C, probably. Okay. There's no probably in quant. Okay. Dishank is saying B, value 1. So choice B. Okay. All right. First of all, tell me how many of you were a little scared of this question? I mean, when I say scared, you saw this table with a number of variables. So how many of you got a little bit jittery even to approach this question? Tell me, how many of you were a little bit jittery about this question? So Asim, because you said probably you need to understand where is it that you made a mistake. It's good that you were not, I mean, it's good that you realized that you were not confident about the answer choice. I want you to figure out why is it that you were not confident. Okay. So Walid is saying that you were scared. Stephen was also scared. Okay. And that's a very important thing with any quant question. Don't be scared. I always say this to my students: trust yourself and trust the test maker, both. If you trust yourself and if you trust the test maker, you will not be scared. The test maker is not going to throw anything at you that that you can't handle. Okay. All right. So let's carry on with this. What's given to us is that each entry in this multiplication table above is an integer. So again, that's a constraint that's given to us, that it's an integer. Okay, that is either positive, negative, or 0. So it can be any of these integers. Okay, any integer really. What is the value of A? Okay, now before I even go into the statements, because there are so many variables involved, I need to just visualize, what do I have here, what am I working with here? Okay, so I know that each of these is an integer. That's good. Now because it's a multiplication table, how do I read it? What I read is I write down what all is given to me. A square is equal to D. That is my understanding of this part. E is equal to AB. F is equal to AC. Now B square, sorry, AB, this is nothing but these two are the same. Then B square is G and BC is H. Now CA, this is same as F here, so I don't need to write this down separately. This is BC, this is same over here, and then I have C square. So I have A square, I have B square is equal to E, and I may not need to, B square is equal to G. I may not need to utilize all these things, but it's good to just make a note of these things, especially when something is a little scary for us. Okay, AB is this, AC is equal to F, and then I have BC is equal to H. Yeah. Okay, so I've written this down. Now, what else do I know? What I know from statement number, now I go into, okay, so I have A square, B square, C square, AB, AC, BC. Okay, now I go into my statement 1. What is statement 1 saying? Statement 1 is saying H is not equal to 0. So all this is saying is that now where is my H? H is over here. H is not equal to 0. So all this is saying is that B and C cannot be 0. That's all it's saying. Okay, because H is not 0, which means neither B nor C can be 0. Okay, that's what I know. But what is A? I really don't know. It's not giving me any information about A. How can I use this to find information about A? I cannot. Okay, so that's why this choice is not sufficient, which is good. None of you selected choice A. Okay, which means D is also gone. Now comes the question, is C sufficient? Is statement 2 sufficient or not? It's saying C is equal to F. Now, where is C and F? C and F is here. Now, if C is equal to F, can I say that A is equal to 1? Okay, if I say C is equal to F, basically what I'm saying is A is equal to F by C. C and F are equal, so A is equal to 1. So which means that I have the value of A, which means B is statement 2 is sufficient, which means B is the correct answer. Is that correct? Is that correct? No, it's not correct. Why? Why is it not correct? Why is it not correct? What could be minus 1? Absolutely. F or C could be 0 as well. AC is equal to C is equal to F. C is equal to F could be equal to 0. In that case, A can be anything. In that case, A can be anything, right? Which is why, yeah, so Shardul is absolutely correct. Again, A could be, Shardul is absolutely correct that we cannot, that we didn't consider the case of 0. So this is one of those questions in which we didn't consider all the possible cases, okay? Or in other words, we didn't consider the constraint. Okay, so A can be anything if C and F are 0, which means B is not the correct answer. Okay, now we take a look at, okay, I need to cross it out as well. Now we need to take a look at if we combine this information. If we combine this information, we know that C cannot be 0, which means that F cannot be 0. And now we know if C is equal to F, that means, and they are not equal to 0, that means A will be equal to 1. Okay, so that's why choice C is the correct answer. Okay, now for those of you who answered this question incorrectly, why did you answer it incorrectly? Possibly because you didn't consider all the cases. Okay, or in other words, you didn't take your constraint with you to consider all the cases. Now in this case, because it's a DS question, applying constraints is what leads to you not, if you didn't apply the constraints, you possibly didn't consider all the cases. So these two go hand in hand for DS. But for DS questions, I like to keep constraints separate from consider all cases because it's a very, very specific thing. Okay, that's why the reason why a number of you answered this question incorrectly is because you didn't consider all the cases here that came from the constraint part. Now, if the constraint itself said that these are non-zero numbers, in that case, choice B would have been the correct choice. Okay, so again, you have to be very, very particular about what it is that the question statement is saying. That's why noting down the constraints, that's why constraints is what leads to you, the application of constraints is what leads to this part over here. Whether you're considering all cases or not, they are very closely linked to each other. Okay. All right then. So with this, we have come to the end of this session over here. As I said, questions 6 and 7 are available to you. I will be sharing the PDF with you. Let me just get the link of the PDF. Yeah. So while I get you the PDF link, tell me, what have you learned from this session? Tell me, what have you learned from this session? Stop sharing here and let me get the link. Again, very important. What have you learned from this session? Or what will you start doing now that you have gone through this session, now that you understand? You haven't learned anything? mouse is creating issues for me here. Detailed error log importance, good. What else? We'll apply all the things you taught. Okay, good. Good. And again, contact me if you have any questions. How to make inference and constraints. Good. All right. Okay. Very nice. Take inventory of the errors that I make. Good. All right. So well and good. I think you all got the gist of the session really very well. How the details really matters. Good. Very nice. Very nice. Vikash, thank you so much. I really appreciate that positive feedback, although I encourage constructive feedback too. So let me know what it is that you'd want to hear, or what is it that you'd want to learn. How will we contact you? Okay, send me an email at payal@e-gmat.com, and let me just write that down over here, and either I or one of my GMAT strategy consultants will contact you back. Again, if you have any questions regarding your preparation, how is it that you should be approaching GMAT? How is it that you should be preparing for the test? How is it that you should be planning for it? Where is it that you need to focus your energy on? So just let us know and we are there to help you. Again, preparing for GMAT is a it should be an enjoyable experience. Again, it's a big thing, but if you break it down into smaller parts, it will become enjoyable. And as you accomplish those smaller milestones, you will get that sense of accomplishment. You'll get that positive reinforcement, and you'll be well on your path to success. Okay. So thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. All right, then. That's it for now. And if you want to attend that next webinar over there about regarding what is the next webinar regarding? Okay, it's 2 current students who've just cracked MBA placement process. Okay, that's really nice. We'll tell you how much money grads actually earn. So yes, that's a good source of inspiration for you guys to make sure that you get all the right parts, all the right parts of your application. Okay, all right. Sounds good. Good luck and bye-bye.